Welcome to the Fut-Afrique channel, where every single week you and I get to talk about all things rugby. As you already know, the World Cup is currently being hosted in France, and the big weekend has finally arrived. The quarterfinals are upon us. The big question, of course, is that some South Africans are a little bit nervous because we are taking on the host nation, which is France, and also Ireland are taking on the All Blacks. So there's a lot for us to talk about. Another thing that I want you to remember is the fact that this show is brought to you by Betkoza, and our guest for today, I actually want to put him on the spot. I'm going to give him a kitty of 1,000 Rand, and I want to see where he's going to make the most money. Paul Motlane, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Aaron. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into the betting order of the day, I want to ask about your experience in France. I know that you had an opportunity to watch the Springboks taking on Romania. Is the vibe in France as exciting as it is in South Africa? Because, I mean, we are miles away, but we are feeling the chaos as well.
Look, the vibe is as advertised. The chaos, I would assume, the chaos there, whichever French word you want to use, is alive. Philippe is there.
Okay.
It's interesting because, like, even the captain, Antoine Dupont, is doing, radio interview, It's at the train station.
Okay. Like advertising.
Yes, it's you're sitting there and you're like, wait, Antoine Dupont is doing ads for the rail station, inviting people to come and support France and watch the games as well. So, beautiful experience in Bordeaux, great wine, great rugby, beautiful stadium as well. Great region, rugby-loving region. France is the center of the rugby world, I think.
What is that one thing that you didn't like about your experience in France? Or is everything as great as what it seems? Oh, really?
It was beautiful. I think, they were so accommodating of the tourists and the fans. And we had a game on the Saturday, the Samoa-Chile game. And that was well attended and everyone was great. And then on the Sunday, it was really good. So, great experience.
Wow, absolutely fantastic. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast again. Before we jump into the quarterfinals, I want to talk about a man that we as South Africans, we love him, but sometimes we tend to hate him. Eddie Jones, a man who was the coach of the Wallabies, Australia. They are not going through to the quarterfinals this weekend. First question, can we blame Eddie Jones for almost quote-unquote messing up the chances of Australia not making it to the quarterfinals?
Well, he's the selector of the Australian side. He's picked guys who haven't played a lot of rugby throughout the year, and he's let go of a lot of the veterans in the team. Not having Tom Hooper there, who's like one of the best fetchers in the world. Not having Quade Cooper was a problem. And so you have a situation where Eddie has to take a lot of the blame. And yes, he's building for 2027, but I don't think he realized that Fiji was a lot closer to Australia than what he thought. And I think, he's going to take a lot of blame. There's rumors about Japan, and it's messy there in Australia.
You mentioned something quite interesting there. You said 2027. Are you saying that the rugby world, especially international rugby, we're a lot more forgiving? Because if it was football, it would be a completely different story. After you knocked out in the group stages, we might bring in another coach.
Look, he's only taken the job for the less than a year. So the question obviously is, why did you hire him now? You could have gone with the previous coach and gone to the World Cup and then dealt with whatever fallout it was after and got Eddie Jones in. What they do by getting Eddie Jones in is just tell me that you're hosting the World Cup in 2027 and you're looking for someone who's going to be there at the World Cup, who's going to lead this team to glory. And it felt like it was a trust the process situation, but it ended up not being a trust the process situation because I think they're looking to fire him, and I'm not sure if they've already fired him already.
I think it might happen, to be honest. I think they'll take the cue from the football guys.
Yeah, so the interesting thing was the day they lost to Fiji in the morning, Sydney Morning Herald ran a story around Eddie Jones interviewing for Japan. And so
that's interesting.
Yes, there's all that's happening. And so obviously the most postmortems will start. And like soccer, if you don't qualify for things you qualify for, fire you. But let's see if the Australian public requires that. But Australia's not big into rugby union as much as they are into the other sports.
Yeah.
So maybe they might just hold on and stick with him, and hopefully the results will change.
If you were the head of Australian rugby, would you keep Eddie Jones in that seat? Of course, looking at the next Rugby World Cup, what would you decide?
Look, you've already made the decision to bring him in before the World Cup with less than a year. You got to trust the process. Similar to necessarily Rassie coming in with like a year to go to the World Cup and trying to get the Springboks going. He ended up winning the World Cup. That's the number one student in the class. But sometimes that was never going to happen. And if they were pragmatic about that World Cup, this World Cup, Eddie Jones will continue to be coach until 2027, and let's judge them then, because that's what we're told. Trust the process.
Let's trust the process. I want us to talk about the money, all right? So I want you at home, play along with us, right? Or alternatively, open a betting account with Betkoza. Today, I'm giving Mpho 1,000 Rand. 1,000 Rand heading into the big weekend, quarterfinal weekend, 4 games. Let's start off with the first one. Wales and Argentina. Looking at their rankings at the moment, quite close. Wales are ranked world number 7. Argentina were ranked world number 8. But one would say the easy bet, where you can really make money, not necessarily big money, off of this game, is just put your money on Wales. Would you agree?
I would agree. But the tougher one is put your money on the underdog, that's Argentina. Argentina play a free-flowing game. They play a fast game. They're the fastest team to the rucks in this quarter, with the 8 teams that are left in the quarterfinals. Wales are also strong at the set piece, and so it's going to be a clash of different styles. But Argentina have done it before. They've made it to a World Cup semi-final before. They've been there. Wales haven't. So you've got that to play with. However, smart money is on Wales. Some interesting money. And
I like the way you're smiling.
If you want to play the lotto type of money, that's Argentina.
Let's talk about Wales being one of the best scrumming teams at this Rugby World Cup. Pivotal moments, would you say that would be the scrum?
Yes, it would. And Argentina would like to avoid set pieces as much as possible. They run the ball. They play quickly. They have the fastest ruck speed with the teams that are left, which is surprising because I thought Ireland would have. And that tells you that Argentina are a team that wants to not have set pieces. They want to move the ball quickly. Whereas Wales wants a slow game. They want to build, play in the right areas and win. And if Wales can do that, they'll come out. But it's very tight between those two. As a betting man, I wouldn't put money there. There's a game that I put money on. That's like a slam dunk.
Okay. Let's talk about the money. Okay, so from the 1,000 Rand, how much are you putting on Wales?
Put a young
150 Rand. Okay, fantastic. 150 Rand, that's some pause call. What is yours? Please feel free to comment down below. Let's shift on to the next one, which is, I would say, the game for Saturday, which is Ireland taking on the All Blacks. And we know that the All Blacks haven't necessarily done too well against Ireland recently. In their last 8 games, Ireland has taken 5 of those games. And of course, everyone would remember that famous series for Ireland where Ireland actually beat the All Blacks with a 2-1 series ending, right? Where are you putting your money for this particular game and why?
I'm putting my money on Ireland. There's a lot of factors in this game.
Not the All Blacks.
No, I'm going to surprise you. I think this is the first World Cup ever where the top 4 teams are all going to come from the Northern Hemisphere. Ireland are the best team in the world. Ireland are the most informed team in the world. I don't think they've lost a game since last year June. The thing, Aaron, with New Zealand is that they are improving and they are better. Yes, they're in a big spot right now, which is very dangerous for New Zealand, for Ireland, because they're in a big spot. And Ireland have never won a World Cup quarterfinal in their history. So this is a big moment for them, right? A massive hurdle to get over. However, I do think Ireland are the better side. They are the informed side. New Zealand have got into their old way of playing good rugby, running rugby. Their offloads are high, up there now, back with the offloads. They also beat defenders. They're the team that's beaten the most defenders in this tournament of the teams that are left. So you get a sense that New Zealand rugby is back. They can kill you at any moment in time playing fast rugby. Ireland, on the other hand, are a lot better at the set pieces than New Zealand. New Zealand have lose like 3 lineouts. No, Ireland actually, this is this other side. Actually, Ireland, their set pieces aren't that great.
Okay.
But the places where they play the game are impressive. They're the one team that has the highest red zone entries in the World Cup right now, which means they get to play in the right moments, in the right spaces. They also get there by running the ball. They don't kick the ball that much. So it's going to be ball in hand, territory, rucks everywhere. Ireland can turn the ball over whichever way you want. And that's what New Zealand need to watch. So I'm moving to Ireland largely because they've beaten New Zealand multiple times, so they feel comfortable. But obviously it's the big spot. So if you're a New Zealand fan, you say you put money on New Zealand. As a betting man, I don't touch this game.
You're not putting money on this game?
No, unless if the odds are so much in the favor of Ireland that they handicap New Zealand so much that I put money on New Zealand. I like betting underdogs. I think that's where the value lies, especially in this quarterfinals. Wales is not an underdog, but Argentina isn't. So I say, if you want lottery money, you bet Argentina. Same here. If you want lottery money, you bet New Zealand. Your odds will be slightly less valuable than betting Argentina. But from my perspective, I put a young 100 Rand, walk away on Ireland and take the win.
All right, 100 Rand to Ireland. You also spoke about big moments, right? I want to talk about BMT. We call it big match temperament. From key players, do you think that Aaron Smith or possibly Johnny Sexton could control this game? Which player would you give it to? And are there other players within these two teams that you think might rise to the occasion on the day?
I think for me, New Zealand need Richie Mo'unga, Burden Barrett to kind of figure out themselves and play to their best selves. Even though they're out of position, they would need that. Also, the loose trio. But for me, Caelan Doris, that's Ireland. Caelan Doris needs to be at his best. He's one of the best 8th men in the world. And you'd need the loose forwards of New Zealand to make sure that he doesn't get every ruck. He's a machine, right? And then on top of that, obviously it is Johnny Sexton. Johnny will always give you a standard game. He's never up or down. He's always like, consistent. How Ireland have been able to build in this generation of theirs that has this era that's made them so great, right? So there are a few here and there, but that's where it lies. The wingers, New Zealand's backline needs to come up. They can change a game in a moment, right? They beat defenders at will, as we can see in the stats. They're the number one team with defenders beaten. So essentially, you'd want that to come through. But on top of that, Ireland's backline is that good. Bandi Aki showed up against the Springboks, and everyone was surprised who this guy was. Meanwhile, we all knew he was that good, and he's put his hand up as one of the best 12s in the world. So there's a lot of guys in there that, if they have good games for either side, could sway the game. But largely, Ireland have the number on the All Blacks. But you never know. On the day, anything can happen.
New Zealand fans, the All Black fans, those that don the black kits, they would often say that the All Blacks have never lost a rugby game. They just ran out of time. What would you say to that statement?
It's true, because this thing of the All Black second wind, which is like after 60 minutes, All Blacks just go crazy.
Yeah.
And it's as though they've got new players on the field. Similar to what we do with South Africa does the bomb squad effect, but they do it all the time. And so it's possibly true that
they'll get that second wind.
But the problem is the rugby game is 80 minutes.
It is what it is. You can't change the rules.
Yeah, you got to get that second one quickly enough. But I think maybe this time they might find joy in the set pieces. So lottery money, I'd put money down on New Zealand, but smart money, if I want to, if I want to go, I'll go with the stats and I'll put money on.
Another interesting thing about this game is if the Springboks, of course, do make it through their quarterfinals, then the semifinals, we're also eyeing the final.
Right.
Are you saying that being a South African, loving the Springboks, wanting the Springboks to defend their title, are you saying that there's a possibility that if Ireland do go through and progress to the final, that we can maybe beat Ireland in the final, even though they beat us in the group stages?
Yes, that's the cruel Ireland, is what you want to call it.
Yeah.
But essentially, that's how I've plotted this World Cup out, apart from obviously getting through Sunday.
Are you saying because Ireland have never reached the final, that moment could be too big for them.
Yes. So Super Bowls, finals, any big match is totally different to a normal game. Because a normal game, you know where to go, what to do. But in a final, there's a concert, there's always shaking dignitaries' hands, doing all these things that
Extra things.
add so much gravitas to the game, where some players might feel either will take them out of their zone or make them feel cold. And if your coaching staff knows this and is good enough and understand these moments are there, they'll tell you, no, the day's different. It's always going to be different. And you treat it different.
Yes.
And if you've been in that spot before, you know about it. And that's why when you play a team that's been there the first time and you've been there before, it's a little bit easier because you understand where the slow moments are, what will change. Instead of you being in awe of everything, Ireland's probably going to be sending messages to their players. Everyone's going to be crying. It's going to be something else. But the team that keeps their cool on the day or understands that that day is a different day is the one that wins in the end for me. And that's the team I put money on. So if it's Ireland, South Africa final, I'll put lottery money on South Africa.
All right. Let's shift the conversation to another team that is also experiencing, as you would say, a quote-unquote first. And that's Fiji. You know, we know the story of Tuasova. Last week, we heard the story that unfortunately his son had passed on. He didn't attend the funeral because to him, it was important to stay with the team and to support the team on their journey to the quarterfinals. Would you say that this would be an incredibly emotional game for Fiji, number one? Number two, could that emotional battle actually distract them from taking on a solid team like England?
So let's put us down. Fiji beat England in the warm-up games for the first time ever, right? So they're on the right track. Then they went on and broke history by beating Australia. Now they've broken history and they've gotten to the quarterfinals, right? So from their planning and their expectations, right, they're saying we've already reached our Mount Everest. We've already peaked. So normally, traditionally, and if you're better, the spot after somebody has peaked and broken their record or whatever it is, that spot after, you bet against them because it's mostly a letdown spot. They're going to lose. So now Fiji's got a whole lot of those things going against them. They beat England. The next game, England's not going to allow them to beat them again.
Most certainly not.
Made the quarterfinals most time in their history. So it most likely be a letdown because they'll be sitting there going, if we lose this game, we made the quarterfinals. We're arriving in Fiji and we get parades and everything else similar to the Portuguese team. You know, it's not a game where they need to win, where their legacies are on. So for me, it's a big spot for England, even though they're not playing well, to kind of silence and cause a lot of to beat Fiji. The Cinderella story has to end sometime. And I think this is where it ends for Fiji. This is why in my little pool of £1,000, so I've got...
I was going to take you there.
Right? I'm going to put all of it, 750 Rand.
All of it?
Yes, on England beating Fiji.
Sure. That's a huge state.
So certain that England will beat Fiji. And the other thing is Fiji did lose to Portugal in the previous game, but they didn't seem at all angry about it. And that's the issue that I have with Fiji. And so for me, yes, they want to right the wrong of the previous week, but everyone's happy that they still qualify.
Yes.
So
they've achieved their moment.
So I'm going to sit there and say it's going to be a letdown spot for Fiji, even though they should beat England. They have everything. There's no reason why they can't. And if you disagree with me and you want to win a house in wherever it is, the most fancy place.
We're giving away houses now.
Put that 750 Rand on Fiji and pray.
Yo, that's a lottery bet. That's not a smart bet because...
That's why I say the lottery bet's not the smart bet.
Yes.
The smart bet is England because it's a letdown spot for Fiji. But because they can match up with England really well, you could make an argument that you put money on Fiji. But smart bet, England are building something. They're playing like a Springbok 2019 World Cup game where they played badly coming into the tournament, but they're finding some sort of form. They're kicking the ball a lot. They kick the ball the most out of the teams that are left in the World Cup, which means they play in the right areas, in the opposition half. They don't create much, but whatever they do create is enough. Fiji will find it hard because they don't kick. So if England keeps on pinning them back into their own half and they run the ball out, they might find themselves in trouble. And so that's where it might, and it's a different England team to what played toward the team that lost in Twickenham against Fiji.
You talk about 2019 there, and I'm quite interested in your philosophy in terms of if you've played your quote-unquote final, you won't necessarily perform well in the next game, because it reminds me of England taking on the All Blacks in the semi-finals.
Down spot in the final.
Because after that, they lost to the Springboks.
Because they played the game like it was the final, and they celebrated as though they had
Yes.
won. And after that, the next game was the letdown spot, and they lost.
All right, let's shift to the big conversation in terms of your 1,000 Rand. It seems that you don't want to put any money here.
Anything.
I will assume it's because...
If you want to give me a 500 Rand, I'll take it.
Let me give you 500 Rand
Okay.
for this game, all right? This one makes every South African a little bit nervous. Not necessarily as much as an All Blacks game, but we are a little bit nervous. France are the host nation. They do have the support of the crowd. They will most certainly have the support of the crowd on Sunday. I want you to take us into the mindset of a Springbok player, right? You're playing away from home. You're taking on the host nation. What do you tell those players as coach? I'm making you Coach Jacques Nienaber right now.
Well, Coach Rassie, everyone thinks that's the coach.
I mean, we know that Rassie Erasmus is the actual coach, but we respect Jacques Nienaber enough to give him the title.
Cool. So what I tell the guys is, look, guys, we're playing away from home. We've been here before. Remember in Japan, we went against all the odds and we won this World Cup. We're in that spot again. Odds are against us. Remember, there's no pressure moment. Pressure is a privilege in our country. Has so many problems. There's no shedding right now.
Come on, Coach Rassie.
Everyone, we've got gender-based violence, and I'm taking this very seriously, not in tongue-in-cheek. And the country looks to you for a lifeline, for that ray of hope, to say that this country may be going down or going through whatever it is, but we've got something to look forward to, something to hold on to. Do not take that away from the 62 million South Africans that are there. And you've done it before. You like being underdogs. You like upsetting World Rugby like you've seen over the past 5 weeks. Let's go there and silence them at their home. Take their hearts away.
Coach, I feel like I should give you that title. Coach, you've given the boys words of inspiration, words of motivation. Let's talk about the 15 players that you, coach, are selecting to take on the host nation, France, on Sunday at 9 o'clock. I want you to run me through every single player that we'll be taking to the park this Sunday. Let's start off with
this down.
Well, no.
So, cool. I start with Stephen Kinsoff, Spicy Plum.
All right.
Best scrummages in the world.
Solid selection.
Yes. Bongi Mbonambi at 2. He's the only hooker we have.
Ideally, it would have been great to have Malcolm Mark still in the squad, right?
Yes. But in this game, I just still started with Bongi and have Malcolm come off the bench.
Okay.
Bomb squad perspective. Frans Malherbe, really great screen option there. Eben Etzebeth at your 4. Franco Mostert at your 5. They both played really well. Franco's a line-out general. He does really well. Sia Kolisi, your captain, obviously he writes himself first.
Standard
Sheet. Peter Steph Totoy, one of the best. Like Sia and Peter are world players, former world players of the year. You need them to come through.
Most certainly.
Right. Jasper Wiese is an interesting one. He's not Dwayne. Dwayne's got all the experience. He's a World Cup winner. But for this game, Jasper Wiese is a lot. He's that guy. He's a lot younger. He's got a little bit more of a motor and an engine. And he'll do the job for us.
My question to you is, where is Dwayne? If Dwayne is not on the field, are you saying bomb squad?
He's not in the 23.
So you're taking Dwayne out of the...
Kwagga Smith is my makeshift 8. Kwagga can do everything. He's the most versatile player we have. The Springboks have this thing called battle stats, which is the positive impacts that you do throughout the game. Mm-hmm. Kwagga is the best player in the world based on battle stats. He'll get in a ruck. He'll come out the ruck, tackle. He's that guy. He's your impact player. In that Ireland game, had Kwagga came on a little bit earlier, we'd probably be talking a different game. We'd be talking South Africa versus New Zealand instead of South Africa versus France.
Sure.
So So Dwayne has done his job for this World Cup. He might come in if there's an injury to Jasper Wiese, or if you want something different, more of like a collision based. But Jasper gives you what Dwayne gives you physically, but obviously the what's between the ears still has to get there.
Are you putting Dwayne in the coaching box? We've seen him spend some time.
Dwayne will be giving messages there.
Water boy, we've seen South Africans have a few interesting water boys in recent times.
Yeah, no, we've seen that. So moving on to 9, I go Faf. Look, the 4 scrum offs are great.
Yeah,
I'd pick either one, but Faf's my guy. I want him to control the game as much. If we need a kick into territory, he's there. Especially with the Antoine de Paul, I can kick air out the ball type of situation.
Nice.
Yeah, you need that. I go with Mani Libbok at 10.
Hang on, whoop, hang on, Paul. Hang on. We have to talk about Mani Libbok.
Yes.
Phenomenal season, URC, he did so well, blah, blah, blah. Everybody loved him. We wanted him to do well at this Rugby World Cup. We wanted him to play like the way he played in the URC.
Yes.
Scotland made a few mistakes. Ireland made a few mistakes. Let me remind you, 11 points missed off of the kicking tee.
Half of those
right?
you attributed to Faf.
I'm not saying that he is responsible for all the points. I'm saying that Mani Libbok has been a massive question mark at this Rugby World Cup. Some might say, Andre Pollard, who is fit, he's ready to go. We saw him do well against Tonga. I mean, aren't you going to go with experience and try to test it during a quarterfinal at a Rugby World Cup?
I'll tell you why. The Springboks have played the rugby that is not what Andre Pollard is used to. The 2019 rugby that the Springboks have played is gone. We're now in the new era. The era where we allow our backline to make plays. We allow our backline a little bit more freedom to do things. We unleash Cheslin Kobe. We unleash Kersley Arendse. The only problem was Mani's only played at Flower for the Springboks this year. Right? He hasn't had a full year. And that goes to the planning of the coaching staff, right? I still stick with Mani because that's what we came in this World Cup to do. Yes, if you want to be different and want to go back to old Springbok, like the 10-man rugby, fine.
Tried and tested.
Play 100 Pollard. But this game is not going to be lost because we couldn't kick on a tee. It's going to be lost in the breakdown. South Africa is one of the worst teams in terms of turnovers that are left in the World Cup. We need to. So there was a fun 4 out of every 10 possessions that the Springboks have lead to an error.
Sure.
That needs to be cleaned up.
That's concerning, yeah.
You know, and so we just need to play better. We're not the best. We're the second worst scrummaging team in the World Cup that left. Our lineouts aren't that great. We need to clean up where the basics are. This game's not going to rely on Mani. Mani is a great distributor. It works for the Springbok game because you move impact points along the defensive line and you give guys like Damian Dallin the opportunity to showcase the fact that he's not only just a great tackler, but he's also a great runner with the ball, right? And you unleash Lukhanyo Am and the guy. So Mani, for me, is the guy we go with for the game plan we have. I'll take Andre as insurance on the bench just in case I need to close out a game. And if it's like a 3, 4, 5 point game, and when you close it out in the last 20 minutes, throw Andre in, let him control the game with I'm assuming it will be Kobus Reinach, and then you just close it out. You don't need him too expensive, just kick for territory, play in the right spaces in the game, and that's what you do. We need to be front runners in this game, and the best way we can be front runners, I think, is with Mani Libbok.
Let's go through the rest of the squad. Cheslin Colby at 11.
No argument there. Damian Dallin at 12. Andre Esterhuizen. Andre Esterhuizen.
Paul, you want me to fight you?
Andre Esterhuizen is one of the few players in South African rugby who are unlucky because he makes any team in the world.
Besides this one.
And he makes any Springbok team outside of the Jean de Villiers team because Venan Dolifield also has the same issue as Andre Esterhuizen. It's just that there's Damian Dallin there, the best 12 in the world.
I'll give it to you.
Andy Aki was showing him that, I want that car. And Damien needs to prove that he's still the number one best one.
Are you putting Andre on the bench?
No.
So Andre is not in the squad. Wrap up the rest of your team.
So Lukhanyo Am comes in. I'm assuming because you put him into the squad and he's fit, he comes and plays this game because there's no tomorrow. We lose, we go home. Kersley Arendse at 14. Makazole is out. There would have been a big debate between Makazole and Kersley Arendse. And then I go Damien Williams at 15.
Vali Leroux, what happened to experience? You're throwing away experience again.
Springboks, like I said, new era. They've moved on from that type of rugby. So essentially, that's where I'd go. The same similar team to what played in Ireland with just a few tweaks.
Last question, that 500 rand, the extra 500 rand that I gave you, where are you putting your money?
My smart money would be on France.
Yo. Boy, you don't trust the Springboks, eh?
My heart says the Springboks, largely because I know that in a big spot, this is the team I trust. I don't trust New Zealand in a big spot now. I trust the Springboks in a big spot. I'd put my 500 rand down on the Springboks. If we win, I'm a millionaire. If we lose, I'll cry with the lost money that's there.
It is what it is.
Yes, to a certain extent, France should win this game, but I wouldn't look past the Springboks. They can be dangerous, especially when they're wounded. I've told you that they've made many mistakes in this tournament. They haven't played their best rugby, even though they are winning. It's just they need to tighten it up because France are giving us the same physical dominance that the Springboks usually do. And that's where it's going to be won and lost. We need to match up to France. And then Antoine Dupont, best player in the world, he is back. He's kicked air out the ball before in the warm-ups. He's one of the most tactical players ever in world rugby. And if he controls the game, we will struggle. But I back the boys.
You back the boys. Not wholeheartedly, but you back.
No.
Just a little bit.
Let people know what we're facing. Let people know that we're not favorites here, we're underdogs. And because you're an underdog, you need to see this game in that light.
Paul Motlwane, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast, and also thank you for breaking the hearts of South Africans. We appreciate it, I suppose, but you call it honesty, which is something that we appreciate.
Sure. Thank you very much.
You've heard it from Paul Motlwane. We gave him 1,000 rand and then an extra 500 rand to bet. I would love to hear from you. Where are you putting your money this weekend? For me, I'm a South African, so I'll put all my money on the Springboks, even though Paul would say it's not necessarily the best thing to do. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember to like and to subscribe. And this is the Fut-Afrique channel. Thank you.